Welcome back to Unleashed, Unfiltered, and Unapologetically Human with me, your host, Julie. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about what queer love is, exploring the many forms of love in the LGBTQ community, romantic, platonic, chosen family, and everything in between. So let's get started. So I kind of want to start with my background on, I guess you could say, my experience with the LGBTQ community. I grew up in this community since I was a little baby. My mom has been with my stepmom for the past 21-ish years. I am not completely sure, so don't quote me on that. But they have been together for a very almost my whole life. I am currently 24. I was raised by both of them. My mom is obviously my biological mom, and then I have my stepmom. My dad is not in the picture. I We used to go to a Christian church. It was very LGBT friendly. Our pastor was gay. One of the pastors, I believe, was transgender. Like, I was literally in this community and known about it since I was very young. So I was taught, not to be very judgmental and basically just to accept people for how they are. And as long as it doesn't affect you, like, that's their life. And I am very grateful for being brought up into that community because it has helped me along the way in my life. And I myself identify as bisexual. I'm currently with not currently. I have been with my girlfriend for almost a year. Technically, we have known each other for the past 2 years. We were in a throuple and it didn't work out. A lot of shit happened, blew up in our faces, and now it's just us two. And honestly, it hasn't been bad. We are definitely learning from each other, loving each other through a lot of our trauma that we have from our past partners, as well as just being able to learn how to love ourselves. That is definitely a journey that we are both going through together. A lot of it has to do with learning how to forgive, as well as being able to go through a lot of trauma, but in more of a positive way instead of negative. Our partners before were very, I guess you could say, very judgmental, very not being able to communicate in a healthy way. And we are learning together how to communicate, and we have been doing so good. I On her end, she's doing phenomenal. I am very proud of her and how far she has come as a person. I am I have been going through a lot mentally, physically. I am working on my communication still. We're both not perfect, but we are both by each other's side, trying to support each other. She has supported me through so much, and I am very appreciative with her. And yeah, that's kind of a little bit about me as well as my backstory. So, we're going to start with the the fluidity of roles, identities, and dynamics in queer love. So, a lot of the time, whenever you're in either a women to women relationship, men to men, whatever it is, a lot of the time people tend to have the same question of, like, well, who's the masculine, who's the more feminine, and as well as, like, who takes the role in that. And I feel like as more and more people are get more accepting, as well as just the different generations coming together, I feel like the roles are honestly so they're not fixed. They're kind of, you just bounce off each other. It's not like the masculine, they go work out, they bring in the money, they're, the more, you could say, manly in the relationship. I have found with my relationships that usually the more masculine is the more soft, and the more feminine is the more, like, you could say, masculine, more like dominant one, if you could say. That is what I have found in my past relationships. It's not for everyone. It's not, I'm not, speaking for the whole community, but that has been what I've found. And with me and my partner, we kind of bounce off each other when it comes to roles. Like, we both make money, we both pay the bills, we equally share everything. And so it's not like, oh, because you're that role that you have to focus. Like, no, like, we both give each other flowers, we both try to romance each other. Like, it's not just a one-way street, which I am very happy and really glad that we're like that as a relationship, only because of the fact that we both we both give each other that love that we've been craving for so many years. And it's really nice to have that in a relationship and be able to love somebody and them love you kind of the same way that you give your love. So it is really refreshing. And I kind of want to talk about the whole dating in the queer community. I So besides that, breaking away from like the normal roles and stuff like that, kind of going back to the dating scene, I have to tell you, dating within the LGBT, at least for me, has been so difficult because I feel like, as a bisexual woman, what tends to happen is that men are usually attracted to you. And usually the reason why they're attracted is because they're like, ooh, they see bisexual and then they think, oh, let's do a threesome. Let's add on a girl, whatever. But that's not, it's not what that means. And so that is the most frustrating thing that I think I have had experienced. And then when it came to trying to date women, that was even more difficult because I kept getting women that weren't so sure about their sexuality, which, that's not a bad thing. But I feel like some women have not, like, they're not honest about, like, where they're at in their sexuality. And so with somebody that, mind you, I've never really had an issue. I've been out for a while. I mean, honestly, my parents were lesbian, so don't even ask me why it was so hard for me to come out to my mom. Because she already knew. She's like, yeah, I know. And I'm like, oh, okay. So everybody knew besides me. I mean, I knew. I was just so scared to really speak it out loud. But a lot of women, when I was dating, they wouldn't be completely out. And so they would be like, oh, like, you're so, try to be very flirty and stuff like that. But then they're like, oh, I can't really do this, or like, I'm not sure. And that's something that was very difficult for me to kind of understand, which I understood, but at the same time, it was like, I'm like, I like this person, but they're not completely out. And so that's kind of difficult for me because I want somebody that is gonna not show me off, but be confident in who they're with and be like, yeah, this is my girlfriend, or yeah, whatever. And so I think that was the most difficult part, because I don't want to be someone that's going to be hidden. That's just not me, and that's not something I can really handle. So I the way I like to say is that, like, yeah, you can have a private life, but don't make it as if you're hiding me, because I am your partner. And for me, I'm whoever I'm with, I'm always proud of who I'm with. I like to be like, yeah, this is my boyfriend, or yeah, this is my girlfriend. And so I think that was the most difficult part for me about the dating scene, as well as just being able to find someone that is genuine. That is another difficult thing that I experienced, because when it came to men, a lot of the time it was, they were after just wanting sex. While with women, they were wanting that emotional connection, but they didn't want anything else, which is fine. But, at that time, I wanted like a relationship, and that was all they wanted, because their past relationship didn't weren't really emotionally available, and usually they were dating men. And so I think that was something that was very difficult. So I kind of didn't really date a lot of women for the most part, because of how I did not have any luck with any women. I did have a girlfriend a long time ago. She Oh my god, that was a horrible experience. But she was one of those, like, I guess you could say, like, fuckboy lesbians, and I didn't realize it because I was kind of young, and it was just not a great experience. So I think after that, I kind of stopped with women for a while. I was still attracted to women, but it was just me dating another woman was really hard. So that's definitely the challenges I've had with the dating community. Of course, I want to hear all your dirty experiences and stuff, cuz it gets crazy, and people need to be aware about that. Let's see. Deep friendships as foundational love. I I have one really good friend. She We've been friends since high school, and I ain't gonna lie, she was the longest relationship I've ever had, even past any of my like romantic relationships. That's really sad. Um, but I definitely believe that it has helped me kind of create like that foundation of what I believe and what I don't believe, with being her blah, blah, with being her best friend. I She is someone that is very honest, very, like, she's not going to be honest, like brutally honest, like, bitch, you're a dumbass. I mean, sometimes she does, but usually we're joking around. But she she's not just going to be on my side. She looks at both sides, and she tries to, like, talk me down, or be able to be like, okay, what you're thinking or whatever, like, maybe think of it as this, or whatever the case is. And she has made me a better person in a way that I am able to look at both sides when it comes to conflicts, because that's something that I've kind of learned from her, as well as just the fact that, like, the loyalty that she has, like, even if it's other other people like try to talk shit about me or whatever the case is, like, she is the type to be like, no, like, that is my best friend, and we would never do that to each other. And I am the same way. I i definitely almost lost her because of a relationship I had, and I would never ever do that ever again, because honestly, her friendship is unlike any other. And that is something that I do cherish very much. And so whenever you find that person, and she is also pansexual, so like for someone to be so open and able to be there for me is, I appreciate it so much. And being in the LGBT community, it's important to have at least someone, a friend or partner or whoever it is, to be able to support you in your life's journey, and being able to have that foundation of someone that loves you for you as a person. It does not have to do with anything intimate or anything. Just for someone to love you just because of you and because they enjoy your company is, I think it's very important with being in the LGBT community and how difficult it is with everything going on politically. Being able to have that community is very important in trying to just survive in this world with so much hate and so much just judgment when it doesn't need to happen. Whoever you love, and it shouldn't matter, but unfortunately it does. But having that, that foundation with your friends is definitely important in finding your sexuality, is just as well as just finding who you are as a person. I I've definitely made a family out of, my best friend, my girlfriend that I have, and as well as some people. I've made family out of friends due to a lot of different perspectives. And I think it is very difficult with having your family like that, because you still miss your family, your biological family, and sometimes it is hard to not go back to that when you have such a good family, even if that's not biological. Sometimes it's just difficult to kind of go back and forth. But I have realized that a lot of queer people end up making family out of friends because of the fact that their family is judgmental, or it's religion, or it's political wise, like whatever the case is, there's something that gets in between the person trying to be themselves with their sexuality or their identity and their family. And unfortunately, a lot of families make these little, like, make politics, their religion, whatever it is, get in between their relationship with their kids, or cut, like, their family. And it's very sad. It is very sad to hear that there are so many people out there that don't have that support, even though loving somebody of the same sex or loving somebody that transitioned, like, it doesn't hurt you. It does not hurt you. It doesn't affect you at all. If you don't like to see it, look away. Like, I don't, me, a 24-year-old, I've been in the LGBTQ community since I was like 3 years old. I don't understand what the reason is for so much hate for people that just want to love each other, but people are so judgmental and want to get in between for no reason. Like, they're not doing anything to you besides trying to live their life, and you just have so much hate for no reason. And like, it just, I don't understand that. And like, if you love somebody, you love somebody. I don't care if it's some object or the same sex, somebody transition, whoever it is. Like, you love who you love, and nobody should get in between that. And if they do, they are not for your good intentions, unfortunately. Another big thing with this community is our mental health. Unfortunately, there's a lot of suicides due to a lot of either homophobic people or just very hateful people against the community. And I I definitely did go through that growing up because my parents were lesbian. I whenever people would find out about it, the first thing that they would say is like, "Oh, because they're lesbian, you're going to be lesbian when you get older, or that means that that's going to happen to you." And in my head, I grew up like, no, that's not how that works. Like, just because you have lesbian parents doesn't mean that you're going to be lesbian, or just because you have lesbian parents you're going to be gay, whatever the case is. Like, it's not something that they just give you. It's it happens. And I think it's like the statistic is like 1 in 4, I believe, or something like that. Don't quote me. I And so because I was given that statement every single time people would find out, it was either, "Oh, that's cool," or, "Oh, that means you're going to be gay." And so because of that, I really did try to, I guess you could say, pretend like I was straight for the longest time, because I didn't want people to think that. And so I pretended for the longest time to try to be straight because I didn't want people to think that. I just repeated that. Sorry. And I it was very difficult for me because of the fact that, I like both men and women, and I was not able to fully be myself around people that I thought were friends. And and then there was a time where I don't know why this happened, but there was a time in like middle school that being bisexual was like a trend. Like everyone was like, "Oh, I'm bisexual. like all of this." And it was, which is funny cuz all the people that said that are now married with a dude and have kids. I'm like, "Okay." So there were some people that did, say that they were bisexual, and in reality, they were just testing out, as well as it was just some stupid trend. And so that was another thing that prevented me from coming out. And I didn't come out until I think I was like 13 ish, or 12, 13 or 14. I don't remember. And I remember like sitting down with my mom, and I don't know if we were just talking and like it came up or whatever, and my mom was like, "Yeah, I know." She said that when I was a kid, I used to like flirt with the waiters, and so she's like, "I knew you were." And I'm like, "Okay, well, everyone knew besides me." um and so once I came out, I feel like a big weight came off of me. I knew my parents would accept me, obviously. They're lesbian, like, and so it wasn't an issue. I didn't really talk about girls too much because I still felt very awkward and didn't know how to really talk about girls. And so majority of the time I would be like, "Oh, like there's this boy that he's kind of cute," or whatever. I wouldn't really talk about it. And it wasn't until I got older that I got my first heartbreak because I admitted to somebody that I liked them and they were a woman, and to find out they were straight. I That was my first heartbreak, and I literally went home and I cried my eyes out to my mother. And I was just so sad because I'm like, "Oh my god, this is the first time I've ever said something and they're freaking straight." Which, it's fine. That's their sexuality, but I was very sad, and it sucked. But I think any person in the LGBT community can say they've at least had one incident of that. Um but I am very fortunate to have parents that are accepting of my sexuality, but I know there is a lot of people that aren't. I do know a lot of people that have parents that are very religious and don't believe in, being bisexual, pansexual, gay, whatever the case is. Like, they don't accept it. And it's very sad, but I I do try my best to be able to bring that side of them out, and not just bring it out, more of just like let them be themselves when I am around them, because they don't have a lot of people that are as supportive. And so at least having one person to be able to be like, you know what, you do your thing, you want to flirt with that girl, I will be your wingman, like type of thing. Like, just getting them out there, it does make a difference. And I it's honestly so fun. Like, if you actually go to a gay bar, like, it's actually really fun. They're wild. um but back to where I was, like, kind of skipped around. But so back to how I was saying, like, me, that was something that I was kind of ashamed of becoming out for a long time. But once I did, I didn't have too much worry, and I wasn't too stressed out about it, because I finally get to be myself. Whew, sorry. Um and after coming out, I think that's when my mental health kind of, yeah, I was able to be myself, but at the same time, being bisexual, a lot of people already have a negative, I guess you could say, connotation towards it. And it it's very unfortunate that the bisexual side of things, like, either way, any part of the community end up getting bad vibes. But with my experience of being bisexual, we definitely get a bad rep, because there's bad apples in anything, any career, any, like, whatever. And it really does suck, because it the most common is, men wanting to be, want to have threesome. They're like, oh, well, you like girls and men, like, so let's do, but in reality, like, we're just like any girl, boy, whatever it is. Like, we just want to be loved. And, well, me personally, I can't speak for everyone, and I won't. For me, like, I just want to be loved. I just want to be treated with respect. And just because I'm bisexual doesn't mean I want both. The only thing it means is that I don't care if you are a boy, a girl. Like, if I vibe with you, I vibe with you. If I have some type of connection with you, what your gender is not going to affect anything. And so if I'm with a girl, like, I am with that girl, and that's all I have eyes on. And then if I'm with a man, then that's all I have eyes on. It doesn't mean that I am looking for both at the same time. That's not what that means at all. Just to clarify that, being bisexual does not mean I want both at the same time, okay? Some people do, which that is your own choice, But I'm just speaking for at least myself. That's not what that means. And that is something I've kind of had to explain to many people, unfortunately. And it's very frustrating. I ain't gonna lie, it's very frustrating. And sometimes it's just made me feel like I'm some dirty person, because of the fact that people already have this rep and already have this, like, thought about, bisexual women. And it's very unfortunate. But I however you identify, as long as you stick to what you believe in, that's all that matters. And whatever people think, they're gonna think about whatever. But as long as you do you, that's all that matters. All right, let's transition into intimacy. Ooh, this is gonna be a good one. So I when it comes to intimacy, I definitely have learned through my dating history, and I learning the difference between sex and intimacy. I never knew the difference only because for the most of the time, I was with men, and it always felt like sex. Like it was like a duty I had to fulfill as a woman. And it wasn't until I was with my girlfriend that I learned what intimacy and just how different it is, in a way that the connection is so much stronger. It's not just sex. It is like you're looking into each other's eyes with such fondness, with such care in each other. And it's not just touching, it's having that spark in each, like it is so different, and it feels so much better than just having sex. And I am very grateful for having that experience, only because I've had a lot of bad experiences, you know, being sexually assaulted, molested. I So in that realm, it's been very difficult in a way that I've always felt like I was just a sex object to my partners. And so being able to have that intimacy with my girlfriend, it makes me feel a lot different of how I see myself and how I see my body. And I am very appreciative of that. And I feel like a lot of women, as well as men, I feel like we have to remind ourselves that, our body is a temple. Our body is such a magical thing. And to be able to take care of it, and the way you treat yourself is going to show with who you're with. Being able to communicate through the intimacy, through having sex, is very important. And I feel like when you have that communication in that very intimate time, it makes such a big difference in your relationship with that person. And I feel like we have gotten so close like never before. And it is just mind blowing how much you learn about your person. And I feel like, honestly, I have noticed that there's a lot more communication when it comes to being with women than I feel with men. That's just my experience again. And I enjoyed a lot more, and I wish a lot more men were like that. I'm not saying all men are horrible. That's not what I'm saying. With my experience, women are a lot more vocal about what's feeling good, what's not, if they want something else. I feel like it is a lot better with women. And as well as just because, like, being with a woman, you kind of already know what's like the good spots because you're already a woman. Same thing that goes with guys. So, um, I don't know. That's kind of like a snippet of like what I think about when it comes to like intimacy and sex and just the whole ship